My elder brother was superstitious, believing that an ugly name makes a child easier to raise. He named his newborn son Gǒu Shèng. As a university lecturer, I truly couldn't accept it. Under my persuasion, they finally compromised. But my nephew was sickly from a young age. Every time he caught a cold with a high fever, my mother and brother would point at me and scold me. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't insisted on changing his name, our Gǒu Shèng wouldn't be so weak." Over time, this ideology was instilled in my nephew, making him extremely rebellious. One rainy night, he was speeding in his car. When I opened my eyes, I was back outside the delivery room. My brother held the household registration book, beaming as he told me, "It's decided." My brother was holding his newborn nephew, his face glowing with joy as he announced, "We'll call him Gǒu Shèng, that's my son's official name. Gǒu Shèng, an ugly name is easy to raise, he'll surely live to 100, full of blessings and longevity." My sister-in-law gently nudged me with her elbow, her eyes full of pleading. "Zioan, your brother is superstitious. You're educated, please talk some sense into him." My mother, standing nearby, clapped her hands in approval, her wrinkled face splitting into a wide grin. "That's right, Gǒu Shèng, what a wonderful name. You can tell he'll be easy to raise just by hearing it." I looked at them, a familiar pang of pain surging in my heart. In my previous life, at this very moment, I had stepped forward. I had said that this was a feudal custom, ignorant and clueless, that would ruin the child's entire life. My brother, humiliated by my words, eventually compromised and gave my nephew an elegant name, Ling Wangshu. But Ling Wangshu was sickly from childhood, in and out of the hospital every few days. Each time he had a fever or cough, my brother and mother would look at me as if I were poison, as if my jinxing mouth had ruined his good fortune. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't insisted on changing his name, why would my nephew suffer like this?" My mother cradled the sickly child, muttering repeatedly, "Zioan, you're just jealous that our family has an heir." My brother, drunk, pointed a finger at my nose and cursed me. This ideology was instilled in my nephew for a long time. His gaze towards me shifted from affectionate to resentful. He believed that I had stolen his originally healthy and prosperous life. He began to rebel, to see me as an enemy. The more I tried to pull him back onto the right path, the deeper he plunged into the abyss. Until that rainy night, he drove straight towards me, as I stood by the roadside with an umbrella, waiting for a car. The excruciating pain as the wheels ran over my body was my last memory of that previous life. Now I looked at my sister-in-law. She was watching me, her eyes treating me as her spokesperson against my brother. I met her gaze, calmly shook my head, then turned to my brother and forced a smile. "You're right, brother, Gǒu Shèng it is. I'll listen to you completely." My sister-in-law's expression froze, full of disbelief. My brother and mother, however, seemed to have received the highest validation, overjoyed. Look, my sister is still the knowledgeable one, a university lecturer indeed." My brother happily bounced Gǒu Shèng in front of me. I looked at the baby's wrinkled face, my heart without a ripple. "Your path in this life is your own to forge." More than a dozen tables of relatives and friends. 3 rounds of drinks had passed. My brother, his face flushed, carried his son onto the stage, took the microphone, cleared his throat, and thanked all his friends and family for attending his son's 1-month celebration. "Today, I officially announce to everyone that my son's official name is Lin Gǒu Shèng." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a brief silence, followed by irrepressible giggles. People whispered and pointed to each other, their eyes full of amusement, as if watching a country bumpkin rich man making a fool of himself. My sister-in-law's face alternated between red and white. She wished she could just disappear into a hole. She hugged her son, her back to the crowd, her shoulders trembling slightly. My brother, however, even more smug, raised his wine glass to those mocking him, as if accepting their adoration. I raised the glass of juice in front of me, taking a slow, sweet sip. The name Lin Gǒu Shèng made my nephew an instant celebrity at school from his very first day of kindergarten. "Haha, Gǒu Shèng, did you grow up eating dog scraps? Gǒu Shèng, come here, I have a bone for you." The children didn't have much real malice, but their pure curiosity and mockery were like countless tiny needles pricking my nephew's tender heart. He came home crying every day, his small body sobbing, begging my brother and mother to change his name. "Mom, Dad, I don't want to be called Gǒu Shèng. All my friends laugh at me." "Laugh at what? This is a blessing," my brother glared. "They're just jealous that you're healthy. Being named Gǒu Shèng can ward off evil and keep you strong. Understand?" My mother hugged him, soothing him heartbrokenly. "Good boy, don't listen to them. When you grow up, they'll see that our Gǒu Shèng is more blessed than anyone. At school, my nephew gradually became quiet and withdrawn. He was afraid of being called by his teacher, afraid of recess activities, afraid of all occasions that required him to say his name. To avoid mockery, he chose not to communicate with anyone, like a snail retreating into its shell, refusing the world. He started to hate studying, staying in bed every morning, faking illness to avoid going to the place that made him feel ashamed. My sister-in-law finally couldn't bear it anymore. She came to me, her face gaunt and ingratiating. "Zioan, do you think this name Gǒu Shèng really isn't good?" She chose her words carefully. "You're educated, why don't you help your brother think of a better name? The child doesn't talk to anyone anymore." My heart grew cold. In my previous life, she was the same. Every time my nephew had a problem, she never confronted my brother directly, but pushed me forward as a shield. She hid behind me, playing the role of a good wife and mother, innocent and helpless, so that I had to bear the full brunt of my brother and mother's anger. This time, I wouldn't let her have her way. "Sister-in-law, this matter is indeed quite serious. A child's psychological health is paramount." Her eyes lit up, thinking I had agreed. I took out my phone right in front of her and called my brother directly. "Brother, are you busy? I have something to tell you. Just now, sister-in-law came to me and said that the name Gǒu Shèng isn't very good, and she wants you to change the child's name. She said that at school, he's mocked by his friends, and now he doesn't like going to school anymore. She asked me to persuade you. Brother, what do you think about this? Do you and Mom have any opinions?" On the other end of the line, my brother's voice immediately turned cold. The color drained completely from my sister-in-law's face. Her lips trembled, wanting to say something but not daring to. I hung up, put my phone in my pocket, and smiled innocently at her. "Sister-in-law, I've conveyed your message to brother. This is a matter between you two and your child. You can discuss it slowly. I'm an outsider, and it's not appropriate for me to interfere too much." That night, earth-shattering shouts and arguments erupted from my brother and sister-in-law's room. "Zhang Liquan, what are your intentions? What's wrong with my son being named Gǒu Shèng? Do you just wish him ill?" My brother's roar pierced through the wall, making the water glass on my study desk vibrate. "I don't, Lin Jianjun, be reasonable. Look at what a laughing stock our son has become. Don't you see?" My sister-in-law's voice, mixed with sharp cries, retorted. "So what if he's mocked? Health is more important than anything. Did someone put you up to changing my son's name to harm him? I'm telling you, no way." My mother also joined the battle, beating her thighs and crying outside the door. "Oh my God, what karma have I created to marry such a dark-hearted daughter-in-law? Do you wish for my grandson to fall ill?" This argument ended in my sister-in-law's defeat. From then on, the atmosphere in the house became as tense as a stretched string. This incident was like a deep thorn in my brother and sister-in-law's marriage. It became a taboo in the house, a bomb that could explode at any moment. My nephew's physical health was indeed poor. During seasonal changes, other children might only sneeze a few times, but he would definitely end up in the hospital for IV drips. Each time he caught a cold with a high fever, it was like lighting a new fuse in the house. My brother would vent all his frustrations on my sister-in-law. It always came back to the same few sentences. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't had that skewed idea in the first place, how could his health be so poor?" My sister-in-law initially argued back, but later, only numb rebuttals remained. "Yes, it's all my fault, all right? Your precious son, I am an unworthy mother for him." Arguments spread from the bedroom to the living room, from the dining table to late at night. The air in the house was always suffocating. The food and soup cold, people's hearts also cold. My nephew grew up day by day in such a chilly environment. He became increasingly silent. At a young age, his face always carried a gloom and wariness unsuited for his years. His hair was dyed bizarre colors, his school uniform cut with holes, and he always smelled faintly of cheap cigarettes and instant noodles. His parents were completely unaware of this. My brother's company became increasingly busy, his social engagements more frequent, and he came home later and later. My sister-in-law was immersed in mahjong and shopping, using spending money and the wins and losses at the mahjong table to numb the unhappiness in her marriage. They were both too tired to discipline a son who had grown up. Perhaps they thought that as long as they provided enough living expenses each month, the child would grow up well on his own. Occasionally, a teacher would call to complain. My nephew skipped school to hang out with a group of youths outside school. The call went to my brother. He was at a dinner party, annoyed, giving a perfunctory answer, hanging up and forgetting all about it. The call went to my sister-in-law. She was engrossed in a mahjong game with friends, saying, I know, I'll definitely beat him when I get home. But once the mahjong game ended, her son's matter was thrown to the winds. No one in this house supervised him. Watching my nephew slide deeper into the abyss day by day, sometimes I remembered my previous life. In that life, at this very moment, I was anxious as if on fire, interfering in his life. I dragged him out of smoke-filled internet cafes, forced him to quit smoking. I went to his homeroom teacher, repeatedly assuring her and begging her not to give up on him. I even sought out the delinquents he hung out with, using my adult authority to confront them, warning them to stay away from my nephew. During that time, I almost became his second mother. I spent 3 full years, almost exhausting all my energy, finally pulling him back from the wrong path. And what about me? What kind of ending did I ultimately receive? If you hadn't insisted on changing my name in the first place, would my health be so poor? Now you're pretending to be righteous and trying to control me, you just want to control my life. My nephew, eyes bloodshot, screamed at me, the car speeding towards me. Reborn, I no longer wanted to be a self-sacrificing savior. This time, I was just an outsider. I looked at my nephew's report card. The red marks grew increasingly numerous. I watched his friends, transforming from classmates into unfamiliar youths, fierce-looking, cigarettes dangling from their mouths. I watched him come home later and later, sometimes not even returning overnight. Once, after work, I walked through the small alley behind our complex and saw my nephew and a few others squatting in a corner. In front of them was a woman's handbag, and they were dividing the cash and phone inside. A blonde guy among them saw me, stood up warily, and glared at me fiercely. My nephew also saw me. His eyes met mine, first startled, then quickly turning into the defiant and reckless provocation of one who had nothing to lose. He even intentionally held up a 100 yuan note, waved it in his hand, and then stuffed it into his pocket. I said nothing, just quietly walked past them, as if passing by a group of unimportant strangers. My nephew completely gave up on school. He dyed his hair a blinding green, got ear and lip piercings, wore torn clothes adorned with skulls, and swaggered through the streets. My brother and mother, however, paid no attention to this. He's a boy, a little G-Zing personality is normal, my brother said casually at the dinner table. Look how healthy he is now, hasn't caught a cold all year. That proves the name Gǒu Shèng was chosen perfectly, my mother chimed in. That's right, much better than his aunt. What good is dead-end studying? Good health is the real asset. I bowed my head and ate, pretending not to hear them subtly criticizing me. In my previous life, when I discovered my nephew had stolen, I strictly lectured him, made him apologize, and confiscated all his pocket money. The result was that he hated me for a whole month, believing I had made a big deal out of it and made him lose face. Later, he escalated to stealing clothes from neighbors' clotheslines, then prying open donation boxes on the street to sell their contents for money. His boldness grew, as did his arrogance. At a family gathering, my brother, flushed with drink, slung an arm around a distant cousin, loudly declaring, "Let me tell you, my method of education is absolutely unique. Don't think Gǒu Shèng isn't in school now, he's experiencing life. This is called experiential education. Once he's tired of playing, he'll settle down and surely have a much brighter future than Zioan, a university lecturer. My son will be a big boss someday." The relatives around him gave forced smiles, no one continuing the conversation. I sat in a corner, coldly watching my brother prance about like a clown, boasting about his flawed theory of success. Just as he was in the midst of his most enthusiastic boasting, the door to the private room was pushed open. 2 uniformed police officers walked in, their expressions stern. "Excuse me, who are Lin Gǒu Shèng's parents?" My brother's smile froze on his face, sobering up considerably. The entire room fell silent. The police officer's voice rang out clearly. "Lin Gǒu Shèng is suspected in a cable theft and break-in case. We need you to come to the police station to assist with the investigation." The news of my nephew's theft could no longer be hidden. There are no walls that can keep out wind, especially in a large family with intricate kinship ties like ours. The news was like a drop of water in boiling oil, exploding and quickly splashing into every corner. The first call was from my second aunt. She always talked in circles, first asking about my mother's blood pressure, then asking if my work was going smoothly. After 5 full minutes of preamble, she casually mentioned, "Oh, I heard about that child." "Oh, children nowadays are so difficult to raise. You shouldn't be too angry." After hanging up, my mother's face was ashen. Those few days, our home phone became a hotline. Various relatives took turns calling, offering false comfort and genuine probing. Those convoluted sympathetic words were worse than direct criticism, like a blunt knife repeatedly carving into my mother and brother's faces. My mother stopped her square dancing, which she had done for 10 years, and confined herself indoors all day, staring blankly at the TV. Her once well-maintained face sagged in just a few days, the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes as deep as knife cuts. My brother smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. The house was filled with smoke, stinging my eyes so I couldn't open them. That day, I went over to drop off some soup my mother had stewed. As soon as I entered, I sensed the uneasy atmosphere. My sister-in-law sat at the dining table, her eyes swollen from crying. My brother stood in the middle of the living room, a pile of cigarette butts at his feet. "Look at the good son you've raised. A thief. A thief who ended up at the police station. He's made me lose all face," he roared, shifting all responsibility onto my sister-in-law. This time, my sister-in-law no longer tolerated it. All the pent-up grievances and resentment of years completely erupted at this moment. "Lin Jianjun, how dare you say that to me? Whose fault is it that our son turned out this way? If you hadn't insisted on giving him that bizarre name, would he have been laughed at from childhood? Would he have become so insecure that he wouldn't talk to anyone? Would he have given up and hung out with hooligans? It's you. You ruined your own son." My brother's face turned purple like a pig's liver. He pointed at my sister-in-law, his finger trembling like a leaf in an autumn wind. You're utterly unreasonable." "I'm unreasonable. Living with a self-righteous person like you for half my life, I'm the one who's crazy." My sister-in-law stood up, pushing her chair back violently. "I can't take this life anymore. Divorce." "Divorce then, divorce. Do you think I care?" That argument became the final straw that shattered their marriage. My sister-in-law was a woman of her word. The next day, she returned to her parents' home. Half a month later, they went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get their divorce certificate, as quickly as a rehearsal. My brother attributed all the problems to my sister-in-law's indulgence and irresponsibility. He firmly believed that his educational philosophy was not wrong, the person who executed it was. Now he wanted to personally take action to straighten this crooked tree, but he forgot that a tree hurts when it's bent and can even break. Parents divorced. For an adolescent child, my brother tried to manage him with his theories. He enrolled my nephew in all kinds of tutoring classes, but he never attended a single one. He bought my nephew a stack of world classics. He sold them for game cards. He locked my nephew at home, confiscating his phone and computer. The battle between father and son escalated from Cold War to hot war. Every day, the house was filled with arguments and the smashing of objects. The once tidy house now looked like a dump. My brother always said, "I'm not wrong." He repeated it to himself and to me, as if by repeating it enough times, it would become truth. He firmly believed he was saving his son, fulfilling his responsibility as a father. Until that day, he personally ignited the final bomb. That day, my brother's company issued a bonus. He was in a good mood, withdrew 5,000 yuan in cash, intending to take my nephew to buy some new clothes to reconcile their relationship. The money was left in the nightstand drawer in his bedroom. The next morning, he found 2,000 yuan missing. My brother's anger completely erupted. He stormed into my nephew's room and found the 2,000 yuan under his pillow. You ungrateful wretch, you even dare to steal money from our own home." My brother was trembling with rage. He grabbed a bamboo pole from the corner, which he used to hang blankets. "Today, I'll beat you to death." My nephew leaned against the corner, his face full of arrogant defiance. There was no fear in his eyes, only disgust and provocation. He was almost a head taller than last year, his shoulders broader. He was no longer the child who could be easily pinned down and spanked. "Besides hitting me, what else do you know how to do?" My nephew sneered. "I hit you because it's for your own good," my brother roared, the bamboo pole whistling as it swung down. But the pole didn't land on my nephew. He had grabbed the other end of it. He yanked hard. My brother stumbled. Before my brother could regain his footing, my nephew lunged forward. He pushed my brother to the ground and rained down punches. He sat on my brother, his eyes bloodshot, using all his strength, pouring all the years of resentment into his fists, repeatedly striking my brother's face and body. When I received my mother's tearful phone call, I was grading students' final exams. "Zioan, hurry to the hospital. Your brother is about to be beaten to death by that beast." My brother lay in the hospital bed, his face bruised and battered, one arm in a cast. His eyes, for the first time, no longer held their usual smugness and arrogance, only wretchedness and confusion. My brother was hospitalized for half a month. My mother, furious, also fell ill, becoming gaunt. After being discharged from the hospital, she called me into her room, grabbed my hand, tears welling in her eyes. "Zioan, this family can only rely on you now. Your brother is useless. That beast of a child, he is the only root of our Lin family. He cannot be ruined like this. You have been strong-willed since childhood, and you're well-educated. You must help your brother pull Gǒu Shèng back onto the right path." She began to recount how much the family had sacrificed for me over the years, implying that it was now time for me to repay this family. In my previous life, she had also used morality to corner me in this way. I had softened, taking on a responsibility that wasn't mine. This time, I looked at her wrinkled, calculating face, my heart as calm as still water. "Mom, don't worry. Gǒu Shèng is my nephew too. I won't abandon him." Outwardly, I obediently agreed, but behind the scenes, I had already contacted a professor abroad and submitted an application for advanced studies overseas. One Friday afternoon, estimating that my nephew would bring friends home, I deliberately opened the safe in the house right in front of him. "Mom, let me see if those old things you kept in there are still there," I said, meticulously checking the contents of the safe. Inside were an old watch left by my father, my mother's golden dowry jewelry set, and several savings passbooks containing most of the family's accumulated wealth. I noticed my nephew standing behind me, a flicker in his eyes. 2 days later, my nephew's attitude suddenly changed. He came home, walked up to my brother, bowed his head, and said, "Dad, I'm sorry. I was ignorant before. I was wrong." My brother was stunned, then tears welled up, and he hugged him tightly. "My good son. You finally understand. Dad knows your nature isn't bad." The family atmosphere seemed to have become warm and harmonious overnight. My nephew began to mend his ways. He came home on time every day, dyed his hair black again, changed into clean school uniforms, and even picked up books, saying he wanted to go back to school and study hard, eventually getting into a good university. My brother was incredibly moved, feeling that his experiential education method had finally borne fruit. He went around bragging, saying his prodigal son had returned, more precious than gold. Only I knew that all of this was fake. A leopard cannot change its spots. How could someone who had wallowed in the mud for over a decade suddenly transform because of a few tears from his father? I didn't make a fuss. I just quietly installed a few pinhole cameras in hidden corners of the living room and hallway. The surveillance camera footage confirmed my suspicions. My nephew left the house with his backpack every morning, pretending to go to school. In reality, right at the complex gate, he met up with his delinquent friends, and together they went into internet cafes and billiard halls. What was more terrifying was that he took advantage of no one being home during the day, repeatedly bringing those delinquents back to the house. In the surveillance video, they skillfully used keys to open the door as if strolling in their own garden, ransacking the entire house. Today they took a little cash, tomorrow a few pieces of jewelry, and the day after they worked together to pry open that old safe. I looked at the screen. My nephew was directing his accomplices, emptying everything from the safe, a morbidly excited expression on his face. My brother finally discovered something was wrong in the house. That day, he came home from work and found the newly withdrawn cash had vanished. He stormed into my room like a madman, grabbing my collar. "Where's the money? Where's the money from the house? Did you take it? I knew you were always eyeing our family's money. You are truly vicious." My mother also rushed in, pointing at my nose and cursing, "You ungrateful wretch. We raised you this big, and this is how you repay us. Hand over all the money now, or today I'll call the police and throw you in jail." Looking at their distorted and ferocious faces, I felt an unprecedented calmness. I didn't resist, just calmly told them, "Call the police." My brother and mother thought I was being stubborn and actually called the police. The police quickly arrived at the house. My mother sat on the sofa, tears and snot running down her face, accusing me of my crimes to the police, saying I had stolen all the family's savings and was an unfilial child. My brother added fuel to the fire, saying I had planned for a long time to take revenge on this family. Comrade officers, before I speak, I'd like to invite everyone to watch a few video clips. Clear surveillance footage appeared on the living room TV screen. In the video, my nephew led a group of young delinquents into the house repeatedly, taking one precious item after another. The final scene showed them working together to pry open the safe and divide the assets inside. The evidence was undeniable. My brother and mother's tearful accusations abruptly stopped, their faces turned ashen like dead people. The police intended to apprehend my nephew, who was still sound asleep in his room, but my brother and mother became frantic, rushing forward to desperately block the police. "Don't arrest him. He's still a child. Comrade officers, we're not pursuing this anymore. We're all family. How can taking a few things be called theft? We're withdrawing the report. We're not suing." Their ugly display made the police officers present show expressions of disdain. The family's savings were completely squandered by my nephew, and life suddenly became incredibly difficult. When my brother and sister-in-law divorced, my sister-in-law had taken half the assets, making the situation even worse now. A few days later, my mother came to me, forcing an ingratiating smile on her gaunt face. "Zioan, look at our family's situation now." She rubbed her hands, her eyes evasive. "Your brother's salary isn't high, and Gǒu Shèng also needs money. You have a stable job now and high income, you see, isn't it?" Before she could say the words, "borrow money," I interrupted. I sighed deeply, my face full of sorrow. "Mom, you came at just the right time. I was also about to tell you and brother. I owe a lot of online loans outside, with compound interest, and now I can't repay them. If I don't pay, they'll come to our house looking for me. Can you and brother help me a little, help me get through this difficulty?" As soon as I finished speaking, a loud banging erupted at the door. Bang, bang, bang. "Lin Yun, if you owe money, you have to pay. Come out now or we'll break down the door." My brother and mother's faces in that moment became incredibly vivid. They exchanged a look then, as if avoiding a plague, together pushed me out the door. "Your problems, you solve them yourself. Don't implicate us." My brother lowered his voice, fiercely telling me, "Our family is already like this and you're still causing more trouble. Go quickly, don't affect Gǒu Shèng's future," my mother said, forcefully slamming the door shut, separating me from the debt collectors outside. From inside the door, her voice could be heard comforting my brother. "Let her be, she made her bed, she has to lie in it. Now our most important thing is to manage Gǒu Shèng well. He is the hope of our family." I stood outside the door, listening to the commotion inside, a cold smile playing on my lips. I paid the actor who had helped me. He gave me a thumbs up and disappeared down the hallway. I didn't turn back. I pulled the suitcase I had packed long ago, taking one last look at the tightly closed front door. As I left, I faintly heard arguments resuming inside. It was my brother and mother confiscating my nephew's phone and wallet, deciding to lock him in the house for forced education. My nephew's screams and roars pierced through the door, carrying a manic frenzy. "Give me back my phone? What right do you have to lock me up? If you don't let me out, I'll kill you all." I could almost see my brother's defiant face. He probably only thought this was another insignificant tantrum from his son. Only I knew that Gǒu Shèng in this life would truly act. I didn't look back, pulling my suitcase and stepping into the bright sunlight. In my second year abroad, I heard news of the family tragedy from a phone call from a distant relative. On the other end of the line, the relative's voice was full of sobs. "You don't know, it was terrible. After you left, your brother and mother locked your nephew in the house, trying to use harsh measures to make him mend his ways. This kind of imprisonment management completely detonated the bomb that had been accumulating in my nephew's heart for years. One rainy night, he broke down his room door, stealing my brother's spare car keys. My brother and mother discovered he was trying to sneak out in the car and rushed downstairs to stop him. In the dark, rainy night, my nephew started the car and floored the accelerator. The car, like a mad beast, sped straight into my brother and mother, who were standing in front of it trying to block him. Both were hit and flung away, falling into a pool of blood, dying on the spot. It was also a rainy night, also a car out of control. In the previous life, the one who died was me. This life, it was their turn. My nephew, Gǒu Shèng, was sentenced to death for intentional homicide. I hung up the phone. I looked at the blue sky and white clouds of the foreign land through the window, my heart without a ripple, no sense of satisfaction from revenge, nor the slightest trace of sorrow. I continued my studies, published my thesis, participated in academic conferences, and shone in the field I loved. My supervisor cherished me, and after graduation, I smoothly stayed on to teach at the university. As for that family tragedy, to me, it was merely a dusty chapter of the past. Once, a student of mine curiously asked, "Professor Lin, what does your Chinese name mean?" I smiled and told them, Yun Yun is a very ordinary plant, but its vitality is incredibly tenacious. All living beings striving resiliently to survive. Finally, I had lived for myself just once.